My name is Billy Collins, magician, entrepreneur, and most important, a father. And this is Tipsy Talk, a show where I sit down with some very fascinating people in the world of entertainment, business, and influencing. Did I mention that we might have a beverage or two? After many years working behind the bar, I've heard some amazing things. And one thing that has become very apparent to me is that everyone has a story. What's up, gang? Welcome back to the show. On this episode of Tipsy Talk, I sit down with a good personal friend of mine. He's a former college football all-star. He is a NFL pro turned financial advisor, and he's an author of his own book called Halftime Shift. Guys, my guest this week is Matt Dodge. But first, before we get started, please do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And over here, go ahead and hit that notification bell. I got future videos. I want you to be a part of it. Guys, on with the show. What's up, guys? I'm sitting here with my good friend, Mr. Matt Dodge, former college football standout, former NFL football player turned financial advisor. Matt, how you doing, buddy?
An all-around great guy.
All around great guy.
Left that part out.
I
Jeez.
did. I'm sorry. I'm such a loser. But Matt, thank you so much for doing this. I'm fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah. Cool, man. I'm glad we could get together, man. I know we've been talking about it for a little while. I love the concept. I knew you were always going to do something. You're going to do something grand like this, so I'm glad we're able to do it.
Well, you know, I love to listen to people's stories. I love to see the success stories that people have, and you are definitely one on the list that I've been meaning to talk to, and I'm so proud to have you on the channel. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot out of it. But with that being said, let's go right into question number one. Put all the football aside, all the financial aside. I want to know, who is Matt Dodge?
So first and foremost, I am a Christian. So if I had to rank it, it would be God. Then my wife, Allison. Then I'm trying to think where the puppies and where my son Jackson fall. I'll say Jackson next.
Jackson,
we had the puppies
we'll put
first.
Jackson.
The puppies were our first children, but then I've got a son Jackson who's turning 2 at the end of August. So he is full.
Congratulations on him, by the way.
Thank you. And I don't know, I'm a creative guy by nature. I happen to work in the financial industry, like you mentioned, but, you know, my interests are all over the place. Probably like a lot of entrepreneurs or people you talk to, we suffer from probably some severe ADHD. So
lack of sleep sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so I'm constantly listening to podcasts, watching interesting interviews like this. You know, just kind of all over the board, but I'm all about achievement, all about success. Love reading about successful people. Yeah, it's constant.
So do me a favor. I want you to take us back to day one, the very first day when your success started. Take us back.
Yeah, so I've been called many things, and humble's not one of them. So May 30th, 1987, I think the world changed forever for the better. I was born. That was a big day in my life. I was
obviously.
Yeah, you know, it's where it all started. I was 11 pounds, 8 ounces, so I was a massive baby. Fast forward, I'm in a family of 5, so I'm the second in command. So I guess I got forced socialization pretty early on. Now I married an only child, but definitely have been around people my entire life. What I'm most well known for is football. So I played at West Carteret High School in Morehead City. Ended up going to Appalachian State, not Appalachian State University, where I actually started my true freshman year. We won a national championship, had a great time, great friends there. But if you don't know anything about App State, it's in Boone, which is freezing cold. So they actually took a poll among the locker room whether or not I would last the winter. And turns out I didn't. So I transferred after my first year to East Carolina University, where I graduated from. So go Pirates. Transferred there, played for 3 years. We won 2 conference championships, had a chance to play in the Hawaii Bowl, where we beat Boise State, the team that had beaten Oklahoma the year before. If you remember, that was on I think
Oh,
the
yeah.
guy
Oh, yeah.
your girlfriend on the sidelines. So the next year, 99% of the country thought we were going to lose, and we did too. So we had a big time in Hawaii. And then after the opening kickoff, it was like, wait, we can play with these guys. And we ended up winning that game, played in 2 Liberty Bowls. Then my senior year was second team All-American and actually got drafted by the New York Giants, which was pretty crazy to say the least. And I can share that story if you'd like.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Yeah. So I was drafted in the 7th round. So there wasn't ESPN cameras were not at my house waiting for my reaction. And in my household, we grew up, my mom hated TV. So she she called it smut TV. She never wanted the TV on. So how we were checking the draft, my dad was sitting in front of the computer hitting refresh on the page. Swear to God. So there had been, I don't know how many picks up to this point, but I remember the 5th round came around, and I knew in the 5th round the Patriots had a pick, and that's where I thought I was going to go because I talked to them the most. I figured, talk about a cake job, go punt.
Oh, seriously. Yeah.
I didn't even know they had a punter. So they came around and actually drafted a kid out of Michigan, a guy named Zoltan Mesko, who was a good friend of mine. I played against him in the Senior Bowl in college. So I said, okay, well, that's 1 down. 6th round came around, and Tampa Bay was on the clock. And I thought, okay, this could be a chance. I spoke with them a lot. They seemed to like me. And they ended up drafting Brent Bowden out of Virginia Tech. And I played against Brent a couple times, and you got to be pretty confident in yourself to make it to that level. So I was a little perturbed. I'm like, man, I felt like I did better than Zoltan in the Senior Bowl. I felt like I outperformed Brent each year when we played him, East Carolina versus Virginia Tech. And those are really the 2 main teams I talked to. So I was kind of over it. It was like, hey, it's just not going to happen. Then 7th round rolls around, and on this day, my buddy from high school was actually getting married. And I was, to be honest, tired of looking over my dad's shoulder as he hit refresh on the page. And it was time. I was like, hey, I got to go. So he's like, no, son, I think you need to stay. We need to just ride this out. I'm like, look, it's just not meant to be. It is what it is.
So you had already, in your mind, you were past it. You were done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, and I'm sorry, this is my drink of choice today. High performance energy drink.
Hey.
But yeah, so in my mind, I'm a punter, and I know the teams don't carry 3 punters like they do corners or quarterbacks, So there's not a ton of jobs that come open. And those are the only 2 teams I had actually even spoken to. Well, I leave, and I'm driving. He got married in Salter Path. So for people that aren't familiar, probably about 20, 25 minutes away from Moorhead, out on the beach. And I'm coming over the Atlantic Beach Bridge. And this is back during flip phone days too. And my phone vibrated, and I saw it was a New Jersey number. And I'm like, New Jersey? What the heck? So I did what any draft hopeful should do, and I ignored the call. I'm like, somebody from Jersey. So, and it rings again. And I'm thinking, it's the same Jersey number. And I'm thinking, man, what girl have I ticked off from New Jersey, or who have I, who calls back to back? And I'm like, okay, let me answer. Now, mind you, I didn't know there was an NFL team in New Jersey, right?
You thought it was exactly
just a random number, right? And I have been born and raised in North Carolina and taught to hate people from New Jersey. No, I'm kidding. But I certainly didn't know anyone. So anyways, I answered it, and it said, hey, is this Matt Dodge? I said, yeah. She said, this is so-and-so, we'll call it, this is Susie from the New York Giants. And I'm like, what? She said, yes, here's Coach Coughlin, Tom Coughlin, who was the head football coach for the New York Giants. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm going.
Wait, your chest was beating a mile a minute, wasn't it?
It was insane. And so Coach Coughlin comes on the phone and said, hey, Matt Dodge. I said, yes, sir. He goes, we're going to go ahead and take you with this next pick. We're excited to see you at rookie minicamp. Susie will give you the details. And it was that quick. And I'm thinking, everything changed, right? So at this point, I was on the beach, so I whipped the most illegal U-turn, flew home. By that time, phone was blowing up. Everybody was freaking out. Overnight, had like thousands and thousands of best friend requests on Facebook. You know how that goes. So,
yeah.
But that was how I got drafted.
That's insane. I mean, not many people get that experience. So one, thank you for sharing it. And two, I learned in that we are somewhat similar. I come from a family of 5 as well as you. And I went to East Carolina. The only difference is I'm way better looking, but that's, matter of opinion.
It was East Carolina Teaching College when you went, right?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Got it.
So with all that, I know a lot of people that have looked up to you in your football career and even in, your business career, and you've inspired a lot of people, but who do you look up to? Who inspires you? Where do you draw your inspiration?
Yeah. It's a great question. Yeah. We were talking before and we were, I think I turned the question around on you and, I don't have any one particular person. I think first and foremost, my dad. I was fortunate enough to be in a family with both parents. We had dinner every single night at the table, whether we loved it or not. But we instilled that kind of consistency. But I learned about work ethic from him. I learned about responsibility. And, now that I have children of my own, what's the saying? The older I get, the smarter my parents get.
Right.
So it'd be first and foremost, my parents. I draw a lot of inspiration from them. But, it's crazy. Growing up, I didn't like reading at all. I remember in English class, we were reading Great Expectations. I don't know if you had to read that. I don't think
it was released at that time.
I don't think it was written yet. It was still close to it when you were coming up. But reading was so painful to me. The teacher actually said, look, if Matt can stay awake for a week, we're going to give the class a pizza party. And I'm literally pouring water in my eyes. It was just I had no interest in it. And towards my junior and senior year in college, I really started reading a ton. And it was all about I didn't know anything about I knew I had ambition. I wanted to achieve stuff, but I'd never really read any of that stuff. So I started picking up books. And some of my early mentors, Brian Tracy, wrote a book called Maximum Achievement. I read that. And then I just started reading them as fast as I could. So I've got a lot of, mentors from afar, if you will. It's the most amazing thing about reading is you're able to have a conversation with, people that you really look up to. So it's tough to say. I don't have any one in particular, I look up to Joe Rogan, how his podcast is and how he's able to have kind of a swath of guests. Look up to, president, anyone of really high achievements. I look up to him just because the small bit of success I had, I saw, it's not as glamorous as it looks. So just, you're kind of in a fraternity when you're a high achiever at any level, whether you're in the NFL or you're an actor that was in a major movie or you're any well-known, we're all kind of in a fraternity, if you will. And so I look up to a lot of those guys. So.
And, when you asked me the question, I think I made the cake analogy where I don't just have one person myself. And you're a lot like me is that you just grab, different ingredients off the shelf and that's how you mold your inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I tell people I forget who I learned this from, but read books and really you don't need to take everything from it. You're just trying to find one golden nugget.
Yeah.
Read a $20 book, you can get $1,000,000 idea, and they're everywhere, right? So there's never been a better time in the world to be alive because you can get your hands on literally whatever you want, so I'm constantly, I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy, but I just love learning new things. And
No, you're not crazy, because I think the day that you stop learning should be the day that you're dead. I think it's morbid sounding, but I don't care how old you are or what you've accomplished. I think you should strive every day to learn something. And then that's what I admire a lot about you, because we talk on a pretty regular basis about business and moving forward and learning things and being inspired. So, and you actually got me more into books. I've always read, but by knowing you, you've kind of inspired me. I know you wrote your own book yourself, The Halftime Shift. And, so it kind of got me in that mindset of, hey, I need to read. There's things out there that I can learn myself in my old age that I can move forward.
And it's fun. It's not laborious. Like, it is a blast. And now everything's on Audible. So I'm listening to books. I rarely sit down and actually sit and read, but I mean, it's your own fault if you don't advance yourself, And someone told me earlier, like, Matt, if you want to be extremely successful, you need to know everything about something and something about everything. And I thought, so I'm not trying to be a jack of all trades, but the more I don't know, you're able to relate to people better. So I appreciate you saying that, because you have a tremendous amount of talent, obviously. So.
Oh, I appreciate that. So I said the word mindset. It kind of leads me into my next question. When you were a kicker, what was your mindset when you're setting up, laces out, sitting yards away from what was your mindset, and how can you relate that into your current business situation?
Yeah, so I can tell you, so I was a punter, which is the guy that someone said, Matt, you're going to the New York Giants, man. You'll be able to give a high five to Eli Manning. I'm thinking, well, when I'm running out in the field, that means they just got stopped on third down. I don't know how happy he's going to be to see me. But, if I learned punting, it's kind of like a skill inside of a game, right? It's almost like golf or whatever. It's more of a skill because sure, I'm trying to beat people that are trying to block it, but it's not like a wide receiver that's trying to outrun a DB or a lineman that's trying to block a D tackle. It's not like that. So it's definitely a skill. And I'll be honest, man, it was the toughest thing I ever had to do. By and large, I quit many, many times. And I think mainly because I grew up playing soccer. And if I know you probably have a lot of kickers who listen to your your show, but soccer style kicking, like if anyone's played soccer, how you go out and kick a ball, that's pretty much the same way you kick a field goal, right? Yeah. From the side, soccer style. It's not saying field goals are easy. It's a different kind of pressure, but punting, it was completely different from everything I did. So I never felt like, even though I was at the top level, I never felt like I got this figured out. I remember I got to New York and literally after the first practice, which I thought I had a pretty good practice, everything about my technique got changed. Everything. So you've been doing something for your life, your entire life, and you've made it to the highest level, and everything that's gotten you there, now it's, okay, we need to change this. We need to tweak this. And I got into a mental pretzel. I was dropping the ball. I never dropped the ball. I was very much questioning, like, I remember texting my mom or my friends back. I was like, I feel like over promoted for something I'm underqualified for, So it was really, really tough. So there was a level of fear with that. And if I've learned anything in the real world, quote unquote real world, is you can almost set it like a compass, right? If something scares the hell out of you, but excites the hell out of you, that's what you should do, right? If it only scares the hell out of you, probably shouldn't do it, right? It's probably
Right.
like trust your instincts. But if it only excites the hell out of you, usually what that means is you're naive. You haven't figured it out. So punting each game, I think we talked about it before. I was talking to somebody. I also do public speaking, but literally before going up on stage, I'm like, why the heck am I doing this? No one's got a gun to me. This is stupid, because you get so freaked out. But anything I've ever accomplished has been during those scenarios. And a great quote, I'm a quote guy too. Like, I'm a walking bumper sticker. But the idea of getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And
yes.
And the thing about being uncomfortable is it's uncomfortable, but that's where your growth is. You probably, with this show, it was probably really uncomfortable to just get it out there. It's the same thing with punting. And in the business world, what I learned, with football, there's a lot of downtime. There's practicing all for a game, right? There's a 3-hour game each week, and then the rest is you're preparing for the game. And business is kind of like that, whether you're in new meetings with new clients trying to close a deal, it's all leading up to that point. There's a lot at stake. But so if you're watching this and you have the desire to do something, to put yourself out there, and you're freaked out, but you still want to do it, I'll tell you, just do it, right? There's a reason you feel better after you work out than you do while you're working out. You'll be amazed on the other end. After I come off stage from speaking, I'm so ecstatic. Like, I can't wait to do it again. Same thing with kicking. So if anything, I learned, I can be in high pressure situations and perform, and sometimes not perform, but also can come out better on the other end.
And it's those endorphins. Like, before I step on stage to do a magic show, I sit behind the curtain and I go through everything. And then and I've done hundreds of shows, but it's still scary. So you're sitting there and you're like, why am I doing this? And afterwards, when those endorphins are running through your body, you're like, that's why I do it. That's the purpose of doing it. And the kind of like, I relate those magic shows to life, because every day is a new show. Mm-hmm. You never know what to expect. You never know what's going to happen. So you just have to roll with it. Right. So but it is
scary. And it is like you drive yourself nuts, but that's seriously where you grow.
Right.
And I know a lot of people stay in that comfort zone forever, which is comfortable, but it's certainly not. I can tell you, anyone that you're seeing that have achieved astronomical things, they have gotten comfortable being uncomfortable, and they're seeking that out day in and day out.
When they get to that comfort level, then they move the flag,
right? So
they're uncomfortable again.
And that's the secret, right? Because you start out, your comfort zone's this big, so you're butting up at your head, but then eventually it grows and grows and grows.
Well, okay, so this is the part of the show where I ask my guests to do me a huge favor. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to take a moment to picture Matt Dodge 10 years from now. Where do you see yourself?
It's a good question. Well, I look younger. Honestly, I see myself playing with my kids in the backyard. So I see myself having a couple other kids, playing catch with my son. The yard is bigger, so I guess what I see is more lifestyle stuff. But
that's respect, because I know how hard you work. And I think it's the process of working hard now to enjoy the fruits of your labor later are tremendous.
Yeah. And I'm a big goal setting guy. But I want to encourage people. So as you guys start reading, you're going to hear more and more about setting goals, right? Which I think is great. But the problem with setting a goal is it immediately creates a lack where you are today, right? I'm making $100,000. I want to make 100. I want to make $1 million. Well, now you're feeling that lack, right? And it can kind of be it's almost a little bit depressing, right? It's a little motivating, but it can be depressing too. So what I encourage people to do, look 5 years out and set your goals, but also look 5 years back and just see how far you've come to where you are today.
So important.
I used to say that every time I'd go out punting, like I'm so much better today than I was 3 games ago. I don't even know how I played 3 games ago for how much better I am right now. So it would kind of psych myself out. But yeah, think back, almost like we're all on a trip to the horizon. You never can actually get it, but we're chasing it. But along the way, just drop buoys to remind you kind of where you've gone. And I think only then you'll have that fuel to, it's nice to say, I want to do this, but you'll know you can do it by just look how far you've come just to this point.
I know how hard you work. I know the hours that you put in, the dedication, the blood, sweat, tears, the effort, the helping of people. But why do you do it? Why do you go through all this?
Well, it's fun. And to be honest, I don't work a ridiculous amount. So
yeah, I know you don't work in the office.
Someone told me,
but I know as an entrepreneur how you are.
Yeah.
Your mind's always going.
Yeah, so can't really help it, right?
Right.
But someone told me earlier, he's like, Matt, never mistake activity with being productive, right? So there's a lot of people doing a lot of things all the time, but they're not really doing anything, right? It's so a working out metaphor, which I know now you're getting all jacked, and I've seen some pictures of you online with you sprayed yourself with like nonstick
spray tan. Yeah, I did that.
So now it's kind of like, if I want to get bigger arms, right? There's 2 ways to do it. I could just do this with my arm with no weight 1,000,000 times. Eventually I'm going to get sore, but it's not really efficient. Or I could just go grab a heavier dumbbell, do 5 or 6 of those. So I've noticed in life and in business, my biggest leaps haven't been from just, balls to the wall, grinding out work, just like you. So I work hard, but I work at specific things really hard. There's a great book that talks about the 80-20 rule, which is 80% of your results come from 20% of your activities. And if you can figure out if you think in your life, it's true. Like you can track 80% of your whatever good stuff you have to doing 20% of whatever you're doing. So once you figure out what that 20% is, that's the secret. All successful people, especially people with a lot of money, the one thing we all have in common is 24 hours a day, right? And someone making $100,000 working 40 hours a week, the worker in us wants to say, well, I can make $200,000 if I just worked 80 hours a week. But obviously we're going to run out of hours in a week. You're going to get burnt out. So all the successful people I've talked to, and I just take them out to lunch. Hey, how do you do it? You'll start to notice, man, it doesn't even seem like they're ever working. But no, the reality is when they are working, it is concentrated laser beam focus. And then they're able to enjoy the fruits of their labor, right? So that's what I've thought in business. I've never wanted to build a business that required me to be there every second of the day for that business to be good, right? Because eventually you're going to run out of time. You're going to get burnt out. You're going to have to sacrifice. If I worked 100 hours a week, I wouldn't be able ever to be around my son, Jackson, with my wife, Allison. Things would suffer, right? So, and the cool thing is you don't have to, right? So just be a little strategic in what you do. And then once you figure out these are the activities that get me the most results, pound those activities as hard as you can, and you'll see, I think I've noticed a lot of people are having to work from home right now due to this pandemic. And just a little joke, guys. Don't burn me.
Relax, people.
Don't burn me at the stake. But there's a lot of people that are doing their same jobs but working from home. And when you're at home, I think they're realizing how quickly they could actually get their work done, right? Because if you're at the office, you may be trying to keep up appearances so that you look like you're working, but you're really not. You're not going to do that when you're working from home. and they've seen how productive they actually could be because, hey, I'm at my house. Maybe I got kids running around. I got a small window. I've got to get this work done.
An opportunity, yeah.
You knock it out. You just see how much more productive you actually can be, you know? So I think the economy is changing for the better, but I don't know. Have you noticed that talking with people?
I have. I have a business roundtable, and we have a lot of people working from home. Some of them are going back to the office, but they're enjoying it. They're seeing more time with their family, at one, and two, they're more productive because, like you said, you have a small window that chaos could happen. And especially if you have kids or dogs or whatever, your window's short. So you got to take it for the advantages of that small window. And I see that they're happier. And I think that's kind of where I see in your why is that you work and do these things so you could be happier in your personal life and your relationships in your life. And if that takes a small window of doing things and putting 150% into that small window, then you're going to do it because you know what the rewards are.
Which is just like football, right? I kicked 4 times a game. That was it. You know, and when I was playing, I was getting paid like $20,000 a week for 4 kicks in a game. Mm-hmm. That's like the 99-1 rule, you know? But also I like to, another mentor I have is a guy named Dan Sullivan who started a company called Strategic Coach. And a lot of times high achievers, we feel like we have this, like we almost have to justify why we work hard, right? You have to how many people say, why is Donald Trump still working? He has more money than he'll ever be able to. Why is Bill Gates still working? And that's because people are trading work for money, right? That's their only reason.
That's a great way to look at it.
There's a lot more coming out. And guys, it's okay to want something because you want it.
Well, Matt, with that being said, I want to thank you so much for coming on, being a guest on Tipsy Talk. You're a really close friend of mine. Love you to death. And guys, if you like the video, give it a big thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs up anyway. I need all the help I can get. Guys, don't forget to do the fun stuff like subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and hit the notification bell. Leave me a comment. Matt, if somebody would like to get in touch with you, how would they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so right now I only have LinkedIn, right? So you can hit me up on LinkedIn. You can check out, I work for a company called Market Street Wealth Management. You can check out our website, marketstreetwealth.net. And those who really need to get in touch with me probably already have my phone number. But yeah, you can add me on LinkedIn. That's Facebook for grown-ups, Billy. You should know this.
I'll look into that. So guys, I'll leave a link to Matt's LinkedIn profile so you guys can go follow him. He's an amazing guy. Love him to death. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next show.